Once you're done reading, you can just message in the chat that you're done so that we can move on to the questions. Do you still need more time to read this? We just take a couple of more minutes. I know this is a slightly boring passage, but it shouldn't take much time because it's a short passage. All right, so I'll move on to the questions. If you haven't read it, I hope you've taken a screenshot, and then you can go back to it, and then we'll discuss the questions. So here is question number 1. Yeah, here it is. Message me your answers in the chat window. And if anyone wants to go for it, then please raise your hand. I'm not getting the answer. So, I mean, are you guys stuck? All right. Some of you have given the answer. And the correct answer is B. It's 1 and 2 only. Anyone wants to go for this one?
Can you please explain it? Because in first paragraph we see self-restraint model is given. So I was confused between two options.
Okay. So, first para is the self-restraint model. But what is the question here? You want to explain the question to me?
Yeah, like
Go ahead. Go on. Okay, so the question says that it can be inferred from the passage that speech is viewed as a fundamental value. Basically, it is asking which of the models given in the passage do not view speech as a tolerant model, because what we read in the passage was speech and tolerance. So if we can negate that one, the remaining will become the answer. So if I go back to the passage, there are few pointers in each of these models which talk about the speech, free speech being a fundamental value. So except for the self-restraint model. So self-restraint model says that it is different from the traditional model, and although staunchly supporting free speech, the restraint model inverts the relationship between speech and tolerance. Under traditional models, the value of tolerance is subordinated to the value of speech. That means that tolerance is related to speech, not vice versa. But in the self-restraint model, this is opposite. It subordinates the value of speech to that of tolerance. Means if I'm able to tolerate it, only till that extent speech will be allowed. Otherwise, it will be restricted. Hence, self-restraint model is not the right answer because it does not view speech as a fundamental value. Fundamental value here means that you are allowed to speak your mind, you're allowed to speak freely whatever you want to. Now, I will eliminate wherever I see option 3, the numerical 3. So option C, option D, and option E are eliminated. I'm left with option A and option B. So in both of these, one is common. So I just need to check if in the Fortress model, free speech is allowed or not. So now going back to the passage, the last one is the Fortress model. Now, if you go to the last end, it says even if speech is so extreme that it cannot seriously be considered to contribute to the discovery of the truth, it's still not, it still ought not to be censored. So this line explains that they're not restricting speech, it is allowing speech and it is allowing it to be a fundamental value. Hence, 2 is also allowing speech to be a fundamental value, and hence we will mark option B. Now we can go back to the passage and see why classical model has also allowed speech to be a fundamental value. So here is the classical model which is talked about, that Mikle John insists that even extremist view cannot be withheld from voting citizens, and protection of free speech, including extremist political speech, serves the collective interests. So this is what it says, that any speech should be allowed as long as it is political. That means it talks about facts, theories, opinions relating to any issues on which the citizens must vote. So it doesn't restrict the speech. Hence, classical and Fortress is what we will select, and thus we will mark option B. Is this correct? Is this clear? So I'll move on. So this is the next question, question number 2. By the way, a lot of you got on first one correct. So keep it up, guys. Okay, so I've started getting the answers. So far, I think none of you have got it correct. Let me check. Yeah. Take a minute more. Okay, so Shubham gets it correct. So Shubham, do you want to give the answer and the explanation? Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
So in this passage, the author has discussed a traditional way and has also discussed two more methods where that both are contrasting to each other. That's why I selected second one, B.
So what are the traditional ways?
Uh, Sorry, sir, I can't. I'm not able to explain it properly.
No issues, Shubham. I'll explain it, and I'll ask you to solve such passages with your friends also and explain the answer to them. Because if you're not able to explain your viewpoint, then MBA is all about that. So you should start doing that with your friends, and that will help you in your GD and PI as well. All right, Shubham. So the question is that turning an eye to the greater structure of the passage, which of the following best describes the function of the last three paragraphs? Now going back to the passage, let us see what are the last three paragraphs all about. So this is last, this is second last, and this is the third last. So this passage, okay, sorry, yeah. So this talks about the traditional viewpoints, and in this traditional viewpoints, it talks about two models: the classical model and the fortress model, which was given in option 1 and 2 also in question 1. So what is the classical model and what is the fortress model? So we need not know what they are, but essentially what the author is trying to do over here. So what he's trying to do is he's just pointed out what these two models are and what is the basic difference in them. So now going back to the question, it says that option, let's go option by option. It says that the author describes two theories, okay, correct so far, and links each to the historical situation in which it was proposed. So the author has not discussed any historical situation. So option A is negated. Now coming to option B, the author refers to a traditional way of viewing a question and examines two contrasting approaches that spring from that view. So it talks about a review of the traditional justification reveals two distinct models of of the explanation. What explanation? Explanation between free speech and tolerance. Sorry for that. Yeah. So, and it does talk about two contrasting approaches. One is the classical and one is the fortress. So option B does seem to be correct. Let's move to option C. The author establishes contrasts between two approaches to a question and then explores their points of agreement. So the first half of this option is correct. It establishes contrast between two approaches, but it never talks about the agreement or the points of agreement. Hence, option C is negated. Option D says the author discusses two theories and the opposed conclusions that follow from them. Okay, so this is similar to what option B is, but there is no conclusion that has been discussed, opposing or similar. It's just that the approaches and the contrasting approaches have been discussed. So there is no conclusion as such. Hence, because of this word, I eliminated option D. And in the option C, it says the author reconciles two competing theories for a particular phenomenon. There is no phenomenon which has been discussed. Hence, we are left with option B, that the author has uh, talked about a traditional way of viewing question and discussed two contrasting approaches. So hence, we have marked option B. Is that clear? So now moving to question number 3. Okay, so only few people have answered, and again, I haven't got the correct answer so far. Okay, so first person to give the correct answer is Himang. Himang, do you want to give out the answer?
So Vishwa, so what I thought, so in both of them, and both the third and the fourth passages, it is given that in the Nicola John's views, protection of free speech, including extremist political speech. So in that, it is like encompassing the extremist view also. And in the Holmes, as also it is written in one line, uh, even if the speech is so extreme that it cannot be seriously considered to contribute to the discovery of truth, like the most, it still ought not to be censored. So in both of them, they are trying to include the extremist point.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. So let's go through the question. And for the sake of clarity of others, I'll go through the other options as well and tell you why they are not the right answer. Himank has very correctly explained why B is the correct answer, by the way, and why B is the correct answer. So the question says that the author indicates that Nichol John's and Holmes' understanding of free speech is similar in that both. So Michael John is talking about the classical model and Holmes is talking about the fortress model. And the question says that how are they similar? So it says, let's go with option A. It says that both believe that free speech ultimately leads to the discovery of truth. So both have not talked about any discovery of truth. So hence option A is negative. Anybody who wants to discuss this, that there was certain discovery of truth? Because I did not find these particular words anywhere. Okay, so option B says favor extending the right of speech to those who express extremist doctrines. This Himang very correctly explained. Let us go to the passage and see where they are. Okay, so Michael John is here and he says that protection of free speech, including the extremist political speech, serve the collective interest and hence it should not be censored. So it says that broad range of speech, including any that may be offensive to many people. So hence he talks about speech being allowed even if it is extremist. Now coming to the fortress view, it says that even if speech is so extreme that it cannot seriously be considered, blah blah blah, it still ought not to be censored. So both talk about extremist view not being censored and that this right of speech be extended to people who express extremist doctrines or extremist viewpoints. Hence, option B is the one which we will consider. Let's go to option C. It says that consider that censorship involves suppression of valuable speech. Now, this is again something which has not been discussed in the Meikle-Jones model, only in the Holmes model, where it talks that censorship will suppress the valuable information or the valuable speech, even if it doesn't bear any value, even if it doesn't hold any value. So here it is. It talks about that it cannot be considered to contribute to the discovery of truth. Okay, so yeah, here the discovery of truth is there. I remembered in option A. Wow, nobody said that discovery of truth is here. All right. So discovery of truth, I'll go back and discuss option A. It says that believe that free speech ultimately leads to the discovery of truth. This has not been discussed either in Meikle-Jones or in Holmes model. It has been mentioned in Holmes model, but it doesn't talk about free speech ultimately leading to this. Hence, option A was negated. I have negated option C also, that both do not talk about censorship involving the suppression of valuable speech. Coming to option D. Option D says both justify free speech by referring to the citizens' right to be informed of all views relevant to public issues. Now, this has been discussed in Meikle-Jones model and not in Holmes model. So, going to the passage, it says that free speech principle need only protect political speech, and nothing of this sort or the public sort has been discussed in the Fortress model. Hence, it is not common to both. So, hence, we will not mark option D. And option E says are blindly supporting free speech. So, this is actually opposite. They are supporting free speech, though not blindly, but they are supporting free speech. Hence, option E is also eliminated. So, this question was about the common point between the classical model and the Fortress model, which is only option B. Hence, we have marked this answer. So, is there any doubt? All right. So, like I had said that this passage is again relevant to current times, and we have seen that free speech is being suppressed in our country, and media has become a puppet of the government. So, this is something which you can use in your GDs and PIs, but don't read this passage keeping that in mind. You can just read and understand the current political situation in our country, and what these proponents of free speech are, and how they talk about tolerance and intolerance, and why free speech is actually necessary in a society. So recently, a journalist, photojournalist Danish Siddiqui was killed in Afghanistan, I think yesterday, and he was the one who brought out the horrifying COVID situation, reality of COVID, which was in the country, through his photographs. And many people, including the government, didn't like that, and many people criticized him. But people forget that media is the fourth pillar, and if media doesn't bring out the truth, then we will be left at the mercy of the government, and the government will be free to do whatever it wants. So there needs to be a check in a democratic country. There needs to be a check on the government, and we as public need to question them, and the media does this job for us. So media shouldn't be gagged, media shouldn't be bound, or you can say it should not be a puppet of the government, and hence this free speech is important in a democratic world. So this is what this passage was all about. I hope I was able to stimulate some sort of discussion within you. You want to discuss this, we can discuss this further. People, if you want to drop, I think we are done with the RC. So to improve your RC reading, to improve your reading speed, I have been suggesting start reading newspapers. If you would have read the newspaper, you would have read the recent article about Danish Siddiqui, and another person passed away yesterday. Anybody wants to mention their name?
Surekha Sukhi.
Yeah, so she was an actress, and she was a national award winner. So she also passed away. So sad day for us. But on the other side, there were further drop in cases, but Kerala is increasing in its cases. So read up on that. So just go through newspapers. You'll stay abreast with the current news. You'll also improve your reading speed. So start doing that if not done already. Newspapers were the main thing that helped me in my preparation. slowly and gradually I moved on to books and articles. You can read up editorial sections, but read any section you want, and that's how you will improve your reading speed. So that's it from my side, guys. Thank you for joining. And if you find these sessions helpful, do join again next week, and do bring your friends as well. Anybody who wants to improve upon their RC. Next week also, we'll be taking up a difficult RC. Today we saw that you were struggling with reading this passage because it's something on the philosophical side. So I've seen that people struggle with the philosophical passages. So again, I'll pick up another such passage and we'll be discussing that next week. So till then, keep up with your preparation and follow us on Facebook, Instagram. You can put up your doubts, your queries over there, and we shall be more than happy to guide you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.